Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm. And today we're going to be carrying on our series. And if you guys remember, what we have done here in the last episode is that we have added the amazing feature of flashing the characters when they get hit, which is a really cool thing here to do. Right, so the next thing that I would like to do here is that I want to implement some kind of a sword or something. Maybe they have different damages, I don't know, but something that you see on the floor, you grab it, and then you can do all sorts of things with it. Okay, so to do that, we need to first go back to our blueprints. I'm gonna right click, and I am gonna call here weapons, right? Weapons. Now the weapons that we have here is that we're gonna right click and create a new folder called a folder. We can create a folder, but actually I'm gonna create a new actor, and we're gonna call this BP base picker, because it's gonna be the base that we're gonna be using to pick items. So we're gonna add here a static mesh, which is fine, and the static mesh will be the route of our scene and the root, sorry. And the thing that we need to look for is on the weapons. We have the weapons here, models. Okay, let's do this sword here first, and let's set this sword right here. So we're going to compile and save. And that sword is the one we're going to be able to see on the game. And we're going to add here a sphere collision, sorry, right there. I guess, yeah, that doesn't matter which one is, but I'm going to add a radius of, let's say, 100. And what I am going to add here is actually, I need to put this sphere. I need to be able to move this sphere. That's fine. That's cool. Now we can find this weapon. We can bring it right here, and I think we need to ask him to simulate the physics, otherwise it doesn't work properly. So what we want to do here is the physics, or maybe simulate. Do I have a simulate physics? Yes, because I want to be able to drop. Why simulate physics on mesh, but it's complex as simple? Static mesh, but it has complex as simple collision. So okay, so I guess we need to change the collision to block all dynamic, I guess. We have to simulate the physics, but it has a complex as a simple collision. Maybe. I think what we have to do is that on the collision, we're gonna add remove collision, and then we're gonna add just a box, I guess. Yeah. And then when we're still there trying to simulate static, but it has complex, a simple collision. Complex. Complex? What's that? Complex. Nope. I want to use simple project default. Let's check what's the project default. Yes. Okay. Finally, we have our sword, and I can simulate that, which is great. Nice. Now the next thing I would like to do here is that I want to make sure, so every time I touch the sword or something, I can grab it on the player, right? So on the player here, or actually on the character, I'm gonna create here a new thing here called interactor, so or interactor, right? Or interaction actor. Okay, this interaction actor is going to be the type of BP base picker. All right, it's going to be a class. We're going to make sure is exposed there. Now the next thing that I want to do is that I want to create here a custom event called API add interaction. Okay, and the add interaction will be just this edit right here. Okay, And we're gonna also copy and paste here another one to do the opposite, which is the API remove interaction. And we're just gonna set this to false. And now what we can do is that on the base picker, can go back here, and every time we are overlapping this actor here, we're gonna get the other actor or the overlap component here. So we're gonna cast to base character. Let's see if this is working properly. Let's make sure that it can interact with our player, right? If we go back here, and yes, you can see the player, which is great. Now, what we can do here is that we can just call that API add interaction. And the interaction actor would be self, okay? So we can add self as an interaction. Now, the next thing that we need to do is on the on the begin here. Once it's not overlapping anymore, we do the same code, put it right here, do that. But we're just gonna call the API remove, API, as from here, API remove interaction, yeah. And the actor is self. All right, so in this way now, base does not inherit primitive component will always fail. So is that really? Is that always gonna fail? Let me have a look. What's going on? So if I press play, okay. There is an issue here. Well, I guess we can do it in a better way, more smarter way, actually. Since we have this problem, we can actually, you see, we can do it in a way like we cast and we do this, and we set this as a variable, saying last layer. All right. Now, what happened is that from here, when we stop interacting, if is valid, right? Make sure it's valid, because it may not be valid. It may not exist, this variable. And then we just want to call the API remove interaction. And that's going to be basically called, actually you don't need to pass anything because the interaction doesn't need any parameters to be removed. And now we can add print. And we can add another print here to say that. And now interact and get out. Nice. Now we need to be able to equip this weapon. So to be able to get the weapon, it's quite simple actually, but let's just make sure that we have the logic to get the weapon first. So we're going to create a custom event called API equip weapon. All right. API equip weapon. Now the next thing that I want to do here is, for example, I am going to duplicate this and I'm going to call sword, right? Sword. Now I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to bring this sword right here to that folder. And this is just going to be called maybe swords. I don't know. You can have multiple swords. Now I'm going to create a new item here called actor. And this actor is going to be called BP sword 01. Okay. And that's actually what the actor will be using to equip. So all we got to do here is that we are going to bring the static, right? Mesh. And in here, we are going to search for a sword. All right, that's nice. Next thing I want to do here is make sure that the collision doesn't trigger. So I'm just gonna basically leave as no collision because I don't want that to interact with my player. Now on the base picker, I'm just gonna create here the weapon, right? And the weapon will be called BP. You know, in this case, it's gonna be just actually I forgot about this. This needs to be created. I need to create a parent for this, a child, and then I'm gonna move that to the weapons, and I should call this, instead of sword, BP item equip or something, equipable item or something. So now, because we have the item here, I can go to this new variable. Actually, no, that's the wrong one. Right, that's the wrong place. In the base picker, we're gonna add the item, right? And we're gonna add this item right here, and we're gonna call this object reference, which is fine. Make sure that is public, otherwise you won't be able to see it. And actually, no, it needs to be a class reference, right, guys? It has to be a class reference, otherwise it won't work. And now the class that we want to do here is that we want to leave the item equip by default. But now on the sword, right? It's gonna save everything here. On the sword here, right, which is this item. Oh yeah, so of course, the sword, I forgot about that, because on here I have to create a child and bring the child here. Yes. Now what you do here is they call BP sword picker, and then you have the BP sword 01, and we can call this item, just to keep things simpler. Now if I open up the picker, I can just find the item that I want to equip. I just want to drag and drop this one right here. Weapon, I'm not sure why I have that weapon. I think I just need to remove that, but anyway. Now we can get the weapon here. We can add this picker there, which is nice. And now if I go back to the player, there's one thing I would like to do here first before I start to do anything else, which is, if I go back to the blueprints, I open up the player and I open up this, and I open up the mesh here, right? And I wanna go back to the spine, and I wanna search for my hand. R normally, and I'm gonna add a socket, and I'm gonna paste just add a socket code. I'm just gonna call weapon, or weapon, you know, weapon. What I can do here is I can add a preview, right? I can maybe search for the sword, and I can add that sword here, and I can see more or less where that's gonna be, right? So I can just maybe try to edit not the arm, but actually the sword, or the weapon, sorry. Here. I want to try to give the weapon maybe right here, something, so it stays on the hand all the time. That's fine. Now, if I press play, nothing gonna happen, by the way. We need to add the logic to do that. But now that we have the socket name, which is just called weapon, all you gotta do is that you go back to the player here where we equip the weapon, and this is set, right? So I'm just thinking about it. Well, let's just add the action first, because we have to add the action before we can actually apply the damage. So we need to add a new input. So we're gonna go back to, not here, sorry, to the blueprints, player, inputs, weapon, and I'm just gonna create a new input here called EA grab item. All right, now we're gonna press save. That's it. Now what happened is that we are gonna create here a new EA grab item, EA grab item. Note that this is still not gonna work because I forgot one important pass, which steps, right, which is here. We just need to add it, the grab item to here. Okay. And now what I'm gonna probably use is just E, you know, to grab the item. I guess you guys can use any control you want. Now, what happened here is that when we equip the weapon, what I would like to do here, right, because we already have it set it here, I am gonna interact actor. I'm gonna set as a variable called the collected, let's say collected item, and make sure it's true, right? So I'm gonna do it like this, and then I'm gonna call the API equip weapon, right? Equip weapon. Now that we have this information done, which is great, what we can do here is that the collected item, we can just get the, how do we call that again? Let me just have a look on the items here. Actually browse to assets, and we can open up here. We call that we just call item. Okay, that's fine, that's simple. So we're just gonna get the item. That's a class. What we're gonna do with the class is that we're gonna spawn actor from class. The location doesn't really matter where we spawn, so we just can make a, you know, make or make transform. Make transform, doesn't matter where you spawn that. Now the things that is very important here is that now we need to get our mesh, and we need to attach actor to component. So the parent is this, and actually I think it's that. I need to double check which one is the target. So self the parent, yes, that's fine. And I'm gonna just call snap to target, snap to target, and snap to target. And now let's see if that's gonna work. So if I go back, find a short, press C. Oh, that was too fast. Why is that? Yep, is equipping. But now we just need to call to the weapon socket. Remember, the weapon socket is the one that we created. Oh, that's the wrong place, sorry. Is the one that we created right here. So we have just weapon. Could just use this armors, but that's fine. Now on the player here, where is it? Here on the base character, just put weapon, that's fine. And we want to make sure that the collected item is valid before we can actually interact with this. And we want to also make sure it's valid right here, otherwise we have errors. So is valid right here. Great. And now I think that should work. We're having a couple of problems with this, but that's fine. And look at that, guys, we have the sword. Nice. It's very cool, actually. I really like this. It's a really good asset. Really impressed with the quality of the asset, because I was expecting to be like this cool, you know. So it needs to be in front of the characters, and look at that, we got a very simple logic here, which is really cool. I'm very happy with this. I think is one of those things that is really cool the way it works. And as you can see here, like it is very complex, but once you take step by step, it does work. The last thing I forgot to do here is that when you get the item, the collected item here, blah blah blah, I just want to destroy, you know, I just want to destroy the actor, because I don't want that to be part of the world anymore, because I just want to destroy it, as you can see. And that's it, guys. And now the next thing we're gonna do is that I think we need to implement some AI. Let's just give these guys some brains so they can actually hunt us, and then we can actually easily have a nice game. So once again, guys, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.